Today we're going to talk about why your ex won't text you back. And after thinking through how I wanted to structure this video, I decided that I'm really going to structure it in two parts. The first part, we're going to be talking about why exes just basically won't respond to you or just simply lose interest in having a conversation with you in general. And then we're going to talk about how you can take a situation like that and improve it. What essentially will make them respond to you or want to text you back. But first things first, if you're in a situation where you're going through a breakup and you're trying to figure out what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back, you should probably stop by my website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and take my Ex Recovery Chances quiz. It's a simple 2-minute quiz designed to tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back, and it's very easy to take. Simply look in the description link of this YouTube video and click on it. It's that simple. Okay, let's get started and talk about why your ex won't text you back. So ultimately, we found that there are 4 main reasons for why exes will simply lose interest in having a conversation with you. So what I'd like to briefly do is go through each of those 4 reasons before we actually talk about what you can do about them. Reason number 1, the timing isn't right. So a lot of people make the big mistake of immediately after a breakup just texting your ex or blowing up their phone, and they don't really want to have anything to do with you. In fact, all that reminds them of or reinforces is the negative behavior that was kind of present at the end of the breakup. Sometimes when they don't want anything to do with you, they will just run away and sometimes even ghost you. So what's the fix here? Well, ultimately, this is one of the primary reasons that we recommend utilizing a no contact rule after a breakup. It really helps with the timing of the overall situation, so that when you actually do try to reach out to your ex, they're a lot more responsive or engaged in a conversation with you. Reason number 2 is pretty common as well, and this is where there's too much negative history to draw upon. So if your relationship with your ex was fraught with lots of fights and arguments, that could be all that they are associating you with. So anytime you even try to reach out to them, even if you have a cordial mindset, they want nothing to do with you because they just think you're going to pester them for a fight or eventually get into an argument. This creates headwind so that every time in the future you try to reach out, they're thinking, oh, great, it's her. They associate you with this negative feeling or this negative thought, whereas instead they should be associating you with the positive thoughts. And again, this can actually connect with timing. So one of the things that the no contact rule can actually help you do after a breakup is sort of position things so that they start to romanticize the good moments of your breakup as opposed to the bad moments of your breakup. And the third reason is the fact that your texts aren't very innovative. Now, I don't really want to dive too much into this because we're going to talk in this video about how you can make your texts more innovative. But generally speaking, what we're meaning by this is don't text your ex with some simple one-word text like hey or what's up. That has nothing that's going to make them want to talk to you. And so sometimes they'll just look at it and scoff and ignore you and want nothing to do with you. That's normal behavior. And then finally, reason number 4 is that you're not making your texts about your ex. So one thing we've learned throughout 7 or 8 years of studying breakups and conversing with exes is that really exes want to respond to text messages that are about their interests. Often our clients make the big mistake of starting conversations based on their interests, but that can actually be read from your ex as, oh, you just want to talk about yourself, or you just want to talk about your day, as opposed to you asking them about their day. Generally speaking, when you shift the spotlight to your ex and make the texts and the conversations purely about them, you'll find they're a lot more responsive. But this is just a quick, rapid-fire explanation of the reasons for why your ex may not be responding to you or texting you back. But what can you do to make them text you back? Well, ultimately, the answer may lie in truly understanding the difference between a close-ended question and an open-ended question. Now, what is a close-ended question? Well, if you can answer a question with only yes or no, then you're answering a close-ended question. Now, on the other hand, open-ended questions are ones that require more than a one-word answer. So as you may have guessed, we are finding a lot more success with open-ended questions as opposed to closed-ended questions. Now, why is this? Well, before we actually talk about the why, let's talk about closed-ended questions and what people think they are. Now, ultimately, a lot of the big mistakes we're seeing is people don't come up with very innovative closed-ended questions to start a conversation. And after they listen to a video like this, they think that closed-ended questions can't elicit a response from their ex at all. No, that's actually not true. You can get a response from a closed-ended question, but you're gonna kind of run into a bit of an issue. You see, one thing that I've learned about people is that generally after a breakup, the first thing and the only thing they want is just to have a conversation with their ex. They just want their ex to respond to their text messages. And then when I help them make that happen, they want something else. Well, I want to have a conversation with my ex. That's a different goal. So what's interesting is closed-ended questions can get responses if they're structured correctly, but you're not going to get the conversation that you want, or you're not going to allow yourself to unlock that ability. So here's the trick. If you want to use a closed-ended text message, you should always follow it up with an open-ended text message. I'll give you a primary example. So I'm a big believer in merging science with practicality. Essentially, if I find something that works psychologically, I like to also see that that concept works in real life situations. And one of the areas that we're seeing that happen is the primal instincts of human beings. So we're seeing text messages work extremely well if they tap into a man's hero complex, into a woman's nurturing complex. Often you'll look throughout my YouTube channel and my articles on my website and even my podcast on my website and hear me talk about the damsel in distress text message for women. What is the damsel in distress text message? It's basically saying to your ex, I need help, and only you can answer it. Why does that work? Well, it taps into your ex's hero complex. And then just last week, I'm working with a guy and he told me he used a text message on a girl that tapped into her nurture instinct. Essentially, he basically had a broken foot and texted her about that broken foot and the x-rays and said, can I get your opinion on this? Fun fact, she was an x-ray technician. And what did that do? It just opened up a great conversation. Now, what's interesting about this is each of the text messages, a damsel in distress text message and that nurturing instinct text message, were both closed-ended questions, but they were intriguing and they tapped into the sort of psychological complexes of men and women. So what does a damsel in distress text message look like? Well, it's basically saying, I have a problem at work and I need your help. And of course, the guy I'm working with said, hey, could I get your professional opinion on this? And he sent the picture to the girl he's interested in. Both text messages have yielded high levels of responses, but they're both closed-ended questions. So what you need to understand is if you're going to use a closed-ended question to start a conversation, you need to make the text interesting enough. Generally speaking, what works best is if you can merge your ex's interest with whatever problem you're having. But simply asking your ex that you have a problem at work and you need his help is only going to elicit you a sure response. Basically, okay. That's when you need to make your open-ended question intriguing enough to come in and start a conversation. So let's recap everything that we've talked about, because this is an important concept that almost everyone could use, not just with their breakups, but in their everyday lives when they're just trying to attract another person. If you want to get engaged in a conversation with someone, the first thing you need to do is make the text message about them. For men, nature-based type text messages work. Tap into their hero complex, their ability to protect. For women, tap into their nurture complex and something that would make them quote unquote mother you. And then after you do that, have an open-ended question ready to engage them in a conversation. Again, don't lose sight of focusing on the fact that you need to make the text message or the experience of the conversation about them so that they stay engaged and they stay interested in something that they want to talk about. Hey there, thanks for getting to the end of this video. If you haven't already, make sure you stop everything you're doing and take that X Recovery Chances quiz that I talked about at the beginning of this video. Simply look in the description link below this YouTube video if you're interested in taking that quiz. Don't forget to click it. Again, if you haven't liked, commented, or subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do that. That always helps. I'll see you next time.